Most explanations for American dominance focuses on surface level reasons: innovation, capitalism, military strength, or political ideals. They treat the United States as a country that rose because it made the right decisions at the right time. But that story misses something far more important. Long before the 20th century began, the foundations of American power were already in place, quietly shaping an outcome that would become almost inevitable in hindsight. The 20th century didn't create American dominance, it revealed it. While much of the world was locked into cycles of war, invasion, and destruction, the US benefited from extraordinary geography, massive territorial expansion, and more than a century of uninterrupted economic momentum. So when two world wars tore through Europe and Asia, America didn't emerge as a superpower by accident. It emerged because the global system finally aligned with advantages it had been accumulating for generations. When people talk about great powers, they often focus on leaders, armies, or ideology. But history shows something far more consistent. The nations that dominate the world do so because their geography makes domination possible. And by that standard, the United States is not just advantaged, it is fundamentally unmatched. Consider Russia. Twice in modern history, two of the most powerful military machines ever assembled. Napoleon's Grand Army and Hitler's Wehrmacht marched directly into the Russian heartland. They did not need to cross oceans, they did not need naval supremacy, they moved across flat, exposed terrain deep into the country. Russia survived those invasions not because its geography was efficient or protective, but because it was vast enough to absorb catastrophe. Cities burned, millions died, industry collapsed, and Russia retreated inward until the invaders exhausted themselves. That is not geographic strength, that is geographic endurance. Nothing remotely comparable can ever happen to the United States. There is no land route for a hostile great power to march an army directly into the American heartland. Any such attempt would require crossing either the Atlantic or the Pacific, oceans so wide that they function as permanent defensive walls. Even today, projecting sustained military force across those distances is one of the most complex and expensive operations imaginable. For most of history, it was just simply impossible. Now look at China. China's geography made it rich early, but also vulnerable. For centuries, it was exposed along its coast and fragmented internally by mountains, deserts, and river systems that divided rather than unified. European empires exploited this ruthlessly. Ports were seized, trade was coerced, sovereignty was stripped away piece by piece, and China did not just suffer humiliation, it suffered systematic extraction. And when the 20th century arrived, China was devastated again by global war, internal collapse, and foreign invasion. Its geography allowed others to penetrate it. America's never did. While Russia absorbed destruction and China endured exploitation, the United States experienced something extraordinary. It grew stronger in isolation. Its cities were never bombed, its farmland was never invaded, its industrial base was never dismantled. Instead, it expanded relentlessly, protected, uninterrupted, and compounding. At the center of this advantage lies the most powerful economic feature any nation has ever possessed: the Mississippi River Basin. This single river system, along with its tributaries, provides more navigable inland waterways than the rest of the world combined. Goods can be moved thousands of miles through the interior of the country at astonishingly low cost, without crossing borders, without foreign interference, and without reliance on vulnerable sea lanes. No other major power has anything even close to this level of internal connectivity. This matters more than it sounds. Cheap internal transports means cheaper food, cheaper industry, faster growth, and higher productivity. It allows an internal market so large and efficient that the country can function almost as a closed economic system. Even if global trade collapsed, the United States could feed itself, fuel itself, and manufacture at scale. Add to this the sheer quality of American land. Vast stretches of fertile soil support industrial-scale agriculture protected from foreign disruption. Enormous reserves of coal, oil, natural gas, and minerals fueled industrialization without dependence on rivals. Few countries in history have possessed both agricultural security and industrial resources at the same time. The United States had them in abundance. Then there are America's neighbors. Canada and Mexico are not peer competitors. They are economically integrated, strategically dependent, and geographically subordinate. There is no hostile power on America's borders, no existential land threat, no constant pressure to militarize simply to survive, and this is a luxury that almost no other great power has ever enjoyed. Even countries with strong geography like India fall short by comparison. India benefits from oceans and the Himalayas, but its terrain is fragmented. Its internal logistics are harder, and its agricultural and industrial systems are more vulnerable to disruption. India's geography allows regional power. America's geography enables global dominance. When you combine all of this, impregnable oceans, unmatched internal waterways, fertile land, vast resources, secure borders, and uninterrupted development, you get something unprecedented. A country capable of generating wealth, projecting power, and shaping global systems at a scale no empire before it could ever sustain. This is why the United States did not simply become another great power. It became the richest, strongest, and most influential empire in human history, able to exert control not just through armies but through finance, trade, institutions, and global rules. No previous empire, not even the British at their peak, operated with this level of structural advantage. American dominance was not an accident, it was engineered by geography. Geography gave the United States extraordinary potential, but potential alone doesn't create dominance. That required a decision. And in 1803, the United States made one of the most consequential strategic moves in human history: the Louisiana Purchase. For a sum that would be considered trivial, even at the time, the United States doubled its size overnight. Napoleon sold the entire Louisiana territory for mere pennies per acre, not because it lacked value, but because he needed cash. France was bleeding resources fighting wars across Europe, and North America had become a distraction. So one of the most fertile, resource-rich regions on Earth was handed over to a rising power simply to fund European conflict. That single transaction did more than just adding land. It removed European great powers from the American interior, and it gave the United States full control of the Mississippi River. And it ensured that the economic heart of the continent would never again be threatened by foreign empires. From that moment on, the United States entered something no other major power has ever enjoyed: more than 150 years of uninterrupted momentum. While Europe cycled through wars, revolutions, border changes, and collapsed empires, the United States expanded steadily westward. Railroads connected the continent, industry scaled, cities grew, capital accumulated, and population exploded. Every decade built on the last, without foreign invasion, without state collapse, and without having to rebuild from ashes. The only major war ever fought on American heartland was America fighting itself during the Civil War. And as catastrophic as that conflict was, it pales in comparison to what the rest of the world endured during the same time period. No foreign armies burnt American cities, no rival powers dismantled its industrial base, and no global conflict turned its farmland into battlefields. By contrast, Europe was repeatedly devastated. Entire generations were lost to war, infrastructure was destroyed again and again. Asia faced colonization, exploitation, and invasion. Empires rose and fell, borders shifted violently, economic progress was constantly reset. The United States faced none of this. Instead, it compounded power. Its land stayed intact, its institutions survived, its economy deepened, and its industrial capacity grew behind the protection of oceans and secure borders. By the time the 20th century arrived, the United States was not just wealthy, it was structurally prepared to dominate. So when global wars finally shattered the old world order, America didn't scramble to recover. It didn't need to rebuild, and it didn't need to catch up. It was already there, stronger, richer, and more stable than anyone else. The Louisiana Purchase didn't make American dominance visible overnight, but it made it inevitable over time. When the 20th century began, the global balance of power was still uncertain. Europe ruled the world on paper, empires controlled vast territories, and the United States was often dismissed as a rich but immature power, distant from the real centers of history. That illusion did not survive the century. World War I cracked the old order. Europe emerged financially broken, politically unstable, and deeply indebted, much of that debt owed to the United States. World War II destroyed what remained. Entire cities were erased, industrial bases were dismantled, populations were exhausted, and when the war ended, only one major power stood completely intact. The US had not been invaded. Its cities were untouched, its factories had expanded rather than collapsed, and by 1945, it possessed the world's strongest economy, the world's most advanced military and unprecedented influence over global institutions. The post-war system, from trade to finance to security, was built around American power because there was no alternative strong enough to replace it. The Cold War that followed was often framed as an ideological struggle. In reality, it was a structural one. The Soviet Union could compete militarily for a time, but its geography, economy, and political system worked against it. It lacked the internal efficiency, the consumer economy, and the global integration that sustained American power. Decade by decade, the strain compounded until the Soviet system collapsed under its own weight. The Cold War did not end with a dramatic battle. It ended with the quiet breakdown of a rival that could no longer keep up. By the time the 21st century began, the US stood alone. China rose rapidly, becoming the first serious challenger in decades, but even that rise exists within a system originally shaped by American dominance. China's economy depends on global trade routes secured by US naval power, and its growth depends on markets, institutions, and financial structures designed in the post-war American order. And despite constant predictions of decline, American power remains unmatched. The United States maintains the most powerful military in human history. Its nuclear arsenal guarantees deterrence on a planetary scale, and its air force can strike anywhere in the world within hours. Its navy controls the oceans that global trade depends on. No other country can project force globally, sustain it indefinitely, and operate across every domain: land, sea, air, space, and cyber at the same time. This military dominance is not about conquest, it is about control. Control of trade routes, control of security guarantees, and control of escalation. It is the reason alliances endure, markets stabilize, and rivals calculate carefully. As of 2026, the US is no longer the only powerful nation, but it remains the central one. Its influence extends beyond borders, beyond treaties, and beyond armies. It shapes the global system simply by existing at the center of it. The 20th century did not elevate the US by chance, it exposed a reality that had been building for over 100 years. And despite new challenges, new technologies, and new uncertainties, the structure that made American dominance inevitable has not disappeared. It is still here, and it still defines the world we live in. If you found this breakdown useful, consider liking the video and sharing it with someone who enjoys understanding how the world actually works. Subscribe if you want more long-form, high-quality content on history, power, and global systems. There's a lot more coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.